What's happening, beautiful people, and welcome back here to another quick longevity lifestyle update. My apologies for being a couple days behind on this update. I'm trying to put them out every week, but this has been a pretty hectic week. We're in the process of moving to a different city, getting my oldest daughter enrolled in a new school, going through the potty training process with my youngest daughter, which has been night and day from the first one, plus just regular day-to-day responsibilities, work, clients, all sorts of stuff. So anyways, a lot to cover today, so let's go ahead and get right into it. This week was the first time that I had made my sourdough bread grinding wheat berries, my own wheat berries that I bought. So I bought whole grain wheat berries on Amazon. This is the company that I used. I really like everything about them so far. Bought that bag for 20 bucks, 5 pounds, so very reasonably priced. And I'm gonna do the bread video in a separate video altogether in more detail, but we'll do a quick thumbnail sketch. You take half a cup of the wheat berries and grind them up in the Vitamix in about 30-second intervals. So I let it go on high for 30 seconds and I turn it off so the Vitamix doesn't overheat. But you bring it to this fine powder and then you combine 150 grams of your starter with 250 grams of water and 25 grams of olive oil. And you mix that up really well, and then you go on to add 500 grams of dry ingredients. So for the first batch, I did 375 of King Arthur flour that I usually get from the store. This is what I have been working with up until this point, and then 125 of my fresh ground flour. Now, even at that 125, being of such good quality, being fresh ground, that still amps up the nutritional content in the bread tremendously. So I wanted to start with that ratio to see how it changes the taste and the texture of the loaf, and so far so good. So I'm going to continue to increase that ratio and see how far we can get before we notice change. So yeah, you mix all that up, then you add a little bit of salt, that's right, then you mix all that up and it goes through a proofing or a fermentation process. So my wife does these stretch and fold processes every hour for 4 hours straight, and then we cover it up, let it sit on the countertop for about 4 hours, I believe, and then it sits in the fridge overnight. And then the next morning you take it out, we put it in a Dutch oven, and you just give it one big score across the top, and an hour later you have bread. So my opinion, this is the best way to eat bread, the only acceptable way to eat bread, really, when you consider not only the nutritional content, but the body's ability to process that nutrition and process the bread. So like I said, the more detailed video, step-by-step video, will be going up on its own, but I just wanted to touch on that. Okay, moving on from there. Apart from that, breakfasts, I only had breakfast a couple times this week due to do eggs and sausage and just eggs. With all the moving parts that's going on right now, for me personally, I tend to just not be hungry. I don't want to say it's stress, but it's definitely a lot going on. So my appetite tends to change. I have been snacking a lot more, and some of the things that I've been snacking on are this jerky, this Wagyu beef jerky that I picked up from my butcher, berries and peanut butter. I just literally take spoonfuls of peanut butter, drop a couple berries on it, and eat it. I've also been making with that Wagyu, I've been making like little cheese crackers. These are the crackers that I use, so just cheese, cracker, and Wagyu, and I've just been snacking a lot on that. My wife also made a banana bread. Espérate un momentico. My wife also made a banana bread from scratch that she makes at home using honey, no sugar, bananas, chocolate chips. So I definitely snacked on that, and for the most part I'm happy with it, because I mean we're in the process of changing the flour for that too, so that way the bread actually has nutritional content. But given the fact that she uses honey instead of sugar, it's not the worst thing in the world. Okay, and what else? I've had lunch a couple times out this week. Kava grill, if you guys are familiar with kava. I liked what I had. I had brown rice, lentils, chicken, lamb, and a corn, tomato concoction, and it was good. And yeah, I don't know exactly where they source all their ingredients. I've only had their food a couple times, one time actually in Georgia, and one time here the other day, and I liked it. It didn't make my stomach feel upset, so I'll continue to use them as a go-to option if I need to. And then another day this week, I did dive into a protein style 3x3 at the one and only In-N-Out. And then dinners have been pretty consistent with what they were in January, man. I'm not really incorporating, apart from the bread and like obviously the snacking and things like that, which is the case for most people, I really have not been incorporating too many carbohydrates or dinner. I'll just have meat or protein. Hanger steak, ribs another day, Wagyu burger another day, Hanger steak, probably more than once, I think 2 or 3 times. Chicken another day. So yeah, that's been pretty consistent across the board there. So nutrition, again, pretty consistent. The snacking is something new, but I hope that those snack options that I provided there, yeah, inspire you guys to just to create healthy snack for yourselves. Training this week, my resistance training, I've gotten it done. I've gotten, I think, 3 sessions in. I had a cable session at one of the facilities that I coach at. I had actually just 2 sessions in, really, a cable session, and then I did some trap bar deadlift. That's just a very simple movement that I like to do when I either haven't trained in a few days, or I'm just don't really have the attention span or the bandwidth to just put together a bunch of sets and reps. So trap bar deadlift, relatively light, and then also some dumbbell incline press. I think I got through 5 sets of each. Yeah, it's just when I have a lot on my mind, I have low bandwidth for training or for sets and reps at least, especially if I'm training by myself. If I'm training with a quality training partner, it's great, but I don't always have that opportunity. So I kept it simple with that. And one thing I have done, which has always been a staple for me, is I've gotten back into sprinting. I got in so far 2 sprint sessions this week. I'm going to do a 3rd today. They've basically just been a quick warm up on my agility ladder, and then I'm working 10 sprints of 120 yards. Once I get back into the rhythm of it, I begin to bump it up by 1 or 2 reps every single training session. But I love wind sprints, first of all, because for me at least, they are very efficient and practical. I can knock out 10 in as little as 13 minutes. But in my opinion, it is one of the best forms of exercise a human being can do. It engages the nervous system more than anything else, builds muscle, burns fat, trains the cardiorespiratory system. It is just one of the most natural movements of a human being. It's just as natural as walking, and that is because of the way we are built. The anterior and posterior oblique slings make it so that that walking and that running pattern is just very rhythmical and natural within our bodies. So that, coupled with the fact that it's just really efficient, it's just one of my favorite go-to sessions when I just don't have time or don't have the bandwidth to go through, an hour-long training session of sets and reps at the gym. Phenomenal effect on the body, though. My entire body gets sore after a quality sprint session. My core, my legs, my glutes, my calves, my arms, my everything, my midsection, my back. So you can definitely tell that you're using the entire body. If you've never done them before, I recommend you ease into it. Start between 5 and 10 reps, between 50 to 100 yards, between 50 to 100%. Running is one of the most deeply seated patterns in the cellular memory of our body. So even if you start off and you're sloppy and it feels awkward, keep it up. And over time, you will naturally refine your technique, because it's just within us. It's just that society has put us in positions in which we don't run. It's a crazy statistic, but I think 99 or 98% of people over 30 years old do not run sprints anymore. They will never run sprints again. And that's crazy, because that's just one of the best ways to ignite the entire body. So that's my spiel on sprints. Give them a shot. I'm going to start getting back into it, especially over the course of the next couple months, because I know that until I make my transition and we move and we have, get the kid peeing and all that, get her in school, I'm just gonna have a lot on my mind. So I'm gonna lean in on sprints in addition to a couple of weight training sessions a week. So I'll keep you posted on how my body changes, because that's something that I haven't done in at least 4, 5, 6 weeks consistently. I didn't do it throughout my entire January carnivore month because the park nearby my house was closed. And it's just miserably cold in LA, at least in my opinion. So I hardly ever get them in the winter. So I'm going to pick that back up, and I'm going to share with you guys how that affects the body. And then last but not least, certainly not least, I got in 2 sauna sessions this week, because it helps me detoxify. If you live in the modern world, you are bombarded with toxins from every single angle. It just is what it is. No sense in crying about it, but you ought to address it and make sure that you get the detoxification. And sauna is just one of the best ways to do that. Just goes in there and pulls toxins out from the inside. And I incorporate 2 things. Mullein, which is just an herb that supports with respiratory health, has anti-inflammatory, antimicrobial properties. And then I also use chlorophyll, which again, chlorophyll is just, it's found in plants. It's basically what allows them to absorb sunlight and it just supports detoxification. It's good for the blood, good antioxidant, deodorizing. So you'll notice that if you have BO, it goes away. So that's one of my favorite things about that. Is just literally cleaning your body out from the inside. Because if you have BO, it's just you got shit going on inside. So I dump some of that in my water, and yeah, the sauna's been great. It's a great way to just release shit. And if I'm not feeling like training, but I know I need to release shit, you just sit in the sauna for 30 minutes. I try and do 2 or 3 times a week for 30 to 35 minutes each session, and that works for me. So yeah, apart from that, not much else to report this week. I'm gonna put the bread video in a separate video altogether because I did record it on its own. I just wanted to drop a thumbnail on this one. If you guys have any questions, comments, observations, suggestions, please let me know in the comment section below. I hope you guys are finding value in these videos, and I'm looking forward to connecting with you guys. Link to the broth, which has been critical, and I forgot to mention, but I have been drinking broth, have not been drinking protein smoothies, but I put the link for the protein smoothie in the description as well. I'm also going to continue to bug my mom to give me a link for the starter. So yeah, look forward to catching you guys in the very next update.